Nurture and support. Nurture and support. This is a podcast theme song. And it's really short.
Nurture and support begins in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Nurture and Support, a recommendation podcast sharing all the awesome since 2013. I'm Kelly Toole at KELLYTHUL on Twitter.
And I'm Mel at Carmick9 on Twitter.
We're episode 152, and I got nothing clever to say, so I guess I'll just start with my recommendation.
It's been a long week in the world.
It's been a long week in the world, and we're recording this on a Tuesday, and we're calling it a long week.
Yes.
So there's that.
Yes. So.
But you'll be enjoying this on Friday, because I'm sure everyone, eagerly waits at their electronic mailbox for Nurture and Support to show up, and they immediately listen to it. And it'll be a Friday, and it'll be a good day.
Yes, for our loyal listeners. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So, Mel, what would you guess are my cellos? So you have provided multiple cello-related recommendations, and we can take Alice off the table.
Oh, because that was obviously going to be.
We'll take him off the table for now. We may hear more of him before the show's done, but for this part of the conversation, what would you say my cellos are?
Oh my gosh. See, it's been such a long week. I can't think of the names. Have you done a recommendation on them before?
I have done, since they are my cellos, I have done at least 2 recommendations. So this will be my 3rd recommendation on this type of electronic thing.
On this type of electronic thing. Oh, I can't think of his name. I'm sorry. Yeah. I think I know who you're talking about, but I can't.
It's not a he. It's an it. It's drones. Drones are my cellos.
Drones. Yes.
So I need to continue on and provide what I believe is my 3rd drone recommendation, and it's definitely my latest drone recommendation. It is the Cheerson CX-10WD Nano drone.
Oh no.
Yes, it's a nano drone. It's teeny tiny. It's a little baby drone. And I'm stalling here for a little bit because, of course, we're an audio podcast, so none of you will enjoy this, although I'll send Mel a picture of my actual drone, but it's this big, Mel. It's
my gosh.
It's a little baby drone. Tiny.
Does it have a little tiny camera?
It does. It also has first-person point of view to it.
Wow.
So it's the only nano drone, at least what Cheerson says, it's the only nano drone with altitude hold, so that you can basically have it come and hit a certain level and stay there, and you can concentrate a little bit more on left, right, and whatever, and not have to kind of worry so much about the height of it.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of that song, that song about the tiny miniature cameras. It was on the Pump Up the Volume soundtrack, but I don't have any of my devices open so I can look up the name. It's an old song.
I cannot recall.
Oh, I don't have it on here. Okay. It's a trivia question, everyone. If
there you
know
go.
The name of the song and the artist, put it in the comments at us on Twitter.
Absolutely. So it is a nano drone. It records and shoots pictures. You can do the video, the pictures. You can have first-person point of view. Very stable. It doesn't have a lot of drones will have a trim button where you can kind of early when you're setting it up hit the trim. It's just so it really does. There's some software trim you can do to kind of get it, but that's the place where it can be a little sketchy to kind of get it completely set up so that you've got that really kind of level control and do the trim, which is important. It's a durable little guy. I've managed to run it into a lot of things, and it hangs in incredibly well. The most super cool thing about it is it's very, very affordable. If you go and do a kind of a Google search on it, you're going to see it in prices anywhere from around $25 to $40. So basically the median range, $30, $35, you're going to be able to get it. I think on Amazon it's running at about $35 right now from there. And So not a very particularly expensive drone. It's small. Also, the picture we'll include in the blog post will illustrate, but I'll have to show Mel the controller as well.
The controller's bigger than the drone, y'all.
Yes, the drone sits inside the controller for storage. It's a little container for it.
It looks like a Nintendo 3DS.
And then these extend out even a little further for control. So it's kind of a cool ergonomic controller. You can connect it. It's Wi-Fi based. You can connect it up to your Android or iPhone. Really decent control. Super fun thing to fly around. Easy to control. The video quality is decent. I mean, it's not going to be your 4K type of thing, but it is incredibly cool. Your range of control, 20 meters, I'd say, would be reasonable from there. You'll get about 5 to 7 minutes out of flying time out of it on a charge. It charges in 30 minutes. It's pretty quick there. Since it is a teeny tiny drone, it doesn't have a micro USB port. It has a teeny tiny little charger thing, which is probably my only complaint on it, is that little bugger is a little hard to get in to charge it up. But so the charging is a little bit difficult, but it's super inexpensive. It's very, very fun to do. And if you're a drone enthusiast like it's a great little addition because you can master it fairly quickly. The altitude adjustment uses kind of a barometric pressure sensor that's involved in how it kind of does some of this altitude adjustment stuff, which is kind of interesting. It does a good job. But, be careful on that. I think I mentioned this on past drone conversations. When you kind of lock in an altitude and then you go over an unlevel surface, if you said, I want you to be 3 feet above the ground and the ground shifts to being 3 feet higher than it was a moment ago because you're going over a chair or something like that, be prepared for that because your drone may shoot up pretty quick. So if you're cruising around the living room and going over a couch, bad things can happen. I can share with great assurance that this is not a drone that cats like.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
At all. I am going to try and get some footage of the drone irritating the cats, but one of them's really quick, and so I don't know if I want to. I don't know how much I want to tempt fate because it is very durable, but I'm not sure it's going to withstand a irritated cat attack. Yeah, Jabba sits on the snake. It's all over.
So has the puppy seen it yet?
No, the puppy gets excited if you take a step. So I don't want to do anything to overstimulate the puppy. And the puppy would basically, since the puppy appears to be able to destroy anything with its teeth right now, drywall, chairs, baseboards. And this wasn't my puppy. This was a puppy I was puppy sitting. But the puppy made a good use of his week in kind of learning how to destroy things. But puppy's not seen it. I think I'm going to hold off because the puppy gets overstimulated pretty quick.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a quick little recommendation, but it's a super cool drone. It's the Cheerson CX10 WD, first-person viewer, Wi-Fi driven, super cooler controller, teeny tiny drone, does a great job, and not particularly expensive. So I think if you're looking for some fun, there's some fun for you. So that's my recommendation for the week.
And everybody needs to go at Sean Schick that Kelly has added another drone to the drone army for the impending drone wars.
That's right. Yeah, my fleet. I've just added to my fleet. This will be a scout. This is going to be a scout.
Yes. I'm sure he will retaliate. Oh, well, it is an adorable little drone, y'all. And that little controller is really cute. I approve. It's very cool. But it's almost something that is so tiny and cute, you would want to make it in my recommendation this week, which is a very neat 3D modeling software. Now, I am not very reliable about recommending things that are free, but this is a free piece of software that's called Sculptris, and that's Sculptris. It's made by a company named Pixologic. They make one of the better 3D modeling software packages out there called ZBrush. Unfortunately, ZBrush is not free. They just came out with a new version, I think, the other day, and the hobbyist price tag on ZBrush, I think, was running $149. And if you are actually trying to use it for game development to create 3D characters for games or stuff like that in a professional environment, it had a pretty hefty price tag. So Sculptris is their free version that doesn't work exactly like ZBrush, but it's enough like it that it gives you a good intro to how ZBrush works. I'm not really all up on 3D modeling, but it's very cool. And we've talked before about my obsession with someday owning a 3D printer. And ta-da! You need to be able to 3D model to make the file that you need to 3D print. But other than that, it's just cool. So Sculptris is free, and one of the selling points for me was on the page for Sculptris, there is this adorable little amphibian puppy looking thing, very much like the little critter that was in the movie Evolution that was in the closet that died, you know, the David Duchovny movie. Yep. And it was so cute. They have one that they modeled in Sculptris that's on the front page of the Sculptris page that looks very much like that little critter. And it's just so cute. And I'm like, I want to know how to make that. So Sculptris is, I've looked at some of the other free ones, like Blender. Blender is an open source 3D modeling program. And without some sort of help or training, it's way too complicated for me to even figure out. But it is free, so that's another option. And there's tons of YouTube videos out there on how to do all of these things. But I always have to do everything the hard way. So anyway, I had someone recommend Sculptris to me that actually does clay sculpting, which is something I've been working on lately, trying to do more realistic stuff, which I suck at. But I thought, hey, maybe doing it digitally would be better than trying to do it out of actual clay. Because there's one cool thing about these programs. They work symmetrically. So you can turn on the symmetry button, and then you only have to work on one side, and it automatically does what you do on the other side. And you don't have to worry about your eyes being in the, you know, one being too high, the other one being too low, which is a problem I consistently have with being able to place facial features symmetrically. So that's a cool thing that is stupid that I was tickled by, going, hey, I don't have to worry about doing that anymore. Of course, that's a feature you can turn off because there's many times you would not want symmetry. But one of the things that I like about Sculptris is it only has a couple of controls. There's only a couple of brushes, or what they call them in these types of programs, that do different things, like the grab button, or there's a button called crease, and all of these brushes do slightly different things depending on whether you're using them in their regular format, or if you hold down the Alt key, it does their alternate format, which is usually the opposite of what the brush does. And you get wildly different results by using either the Alt button or all the different brushes. There's only like 6 major brushes that you use in this program. And I like things to be simple, especially when I'm learning how to use them for the first time. And this program was easy enough that with a little help, which I'm going to tell you about here in a second, I was able to make a stupid little cartoon man's face pretty easily. So, you know, he's not beautiful, but he's a little cartoon supposed to look goofy. So his goofiness is perfectly acceptable. And it's a good stepping stone into doing something a little bit more involved. But I used 2 different particular videos to get started on Sculptris. The first one I actually did was a paid video on Udemy. I don't know if you've ever looked at Udemy. I think I've talked about it maybe many years ago.
Yeah, you've mentioned it before.
Yeah. So I've actually gotten into doing quite a few different topics on Udemy. And one of the things about Udemy is when you buy a class, they give you stuff on sale all the time, and they'll send you plenty of emails with, hey, look, this class is $9.99 because you took this other class. You might really like this one, and it's cheap. And so when you get on there and you look at a class and you go, oh, wow, that's too expensive, you might sign up, and they have sales all the time. And I also noticed that sometimes they're having a sale on the app that's not on the website, but the 2 are linked. So if you buy something on the app, you can watch it on the app or on the website. It doesn't matter. But I've saved a couple of dollars by buying something on a sale on the app rather than buying it off of the website. So the first class that I took on it was because I was already on Udemy, and it came up in one of those very useful marketing emails they send me. And it was a class by Gary Groves, and it was called Intro to Digital Sculpting in Sculptris. I think it's the only class on Udemy about Sculptris. All the others are about ZBrush and Blender. Because Sculptris, there's a lot of videos on YouTube how to use it. But this class went through all of the different functions and really explained why you need to do some of the things that you need to do. So in digital sculpting, you can't do this on a tablet, by the way. It's a program you have to put on your computer. So when you get too many triangles in your mesh on a digital wireframe that you're doing, you're using a lot of memory. You're really making it very intensive. And so there are different methods within the program that you can do to reduce that triangle count, which will really help, one, keep the program from crashing and make your files smaller for anything that you want to do later. So that was one of the good things that particular video talked about, how necessary it is to do things like that. But he did a really good job of going through what all of the different brushes do and how to work them and how you sculpt your whatever little thing that you're making. He did a dragon head in that class, but he wasn't really going through showing you how to do it. He was just using it as an example of using the different brushes. It wasn't really a tutorial on how to make a dragon head. But goes through the painting process and how you import textures and went through all of that. The other class that I watched, and I actually just watched this one the other day. It's free on YouTube, and it did a really good job too. So it's a great free option to start with. I thought he did a good job of explaining what all the buttons do. And one of the interesting things is, just like with real sculpting in clay or monster clay or any of the different mediums you could use, every artist has their own way of making a similar shape. And the class on YouTube by the YouTube account is 3D Character Workshop. It's made by a guy who I believe runs a website called 3dtunes.com, but it's called 3D Tunes Sculptris Demo. And he does, his video goes through making the cartoon man's head. It was pretty good. But he does he does things differently than the first video that I watched. He uses the brushes in a slightly different way to get some of the same effects, but he's using it differently. So it's a good way of watching a bunch of different people do something that maybe will work better for you. It's one of my things. I always watch a ton of videos on all of my different crafts that I do, because every person has a different way of doing something. And one way may click with you better than someone else's way. So I thought that was interesting. I really liked the way that the 3D Character Workshop class did some of the sculpting by using the alternate functions of some of the brushes, as opposed to using the brush that actually does specifically what he was trying to do. He was using an alternate version of a different brush to get a slightly, very minute different effect that worked really well. So those were two classes about Sculptris, but Sculptris is really what I'm talking about here, about the free software from Pixologic to get you started in 3D modeling. And it wasn't nearly as complicated and difficult as I thought it would be. I am not good with stuff like that. I'm a total failure at Photoshop completely. I can't work any of those kind of programs. I'm not very good at them. But Sculptris, I feel pretty confident that with enough time and practice, I could maybe make something that looked like something in that program. So I really liked it, and it's free, and there's nothing better than free. And in preparation for the day when we all have 3D printers in our home and we can make goofy little cartoon characters that we can then export to a 3D printer and actually print up, would be cool. So Sculptris will help you get there. There are some intermediate steps from what I understand, but I'm starting with the 3D modeling part. I'll worry about the rest of it later.
So what are the when you get done, so first of all, we'll be able to include, or are you willing to include, a screenshot of your cartoon man's face in the blog post?
I'll have to see. Yeah, I'll have to see how to get a picture of him, because he's not done. And one of the things about Sculptris is you can't go to painting until you're done with the sculpting, which is different from like the paid version. ZBrush, you can paint before you finish sculpting, but in Sculptris, it's one of its limitations is that when you move it to the painting phase of trying to color your sculpt, you have to be completely done with the sculpting. You can't go back.
Gotcha.
So I haven't closed him out because he still needs a mouth, but he's got a head and a nose and a neck. He's amazing. Looks like a person's head, sort of. So
eyes? Are there eyes yet?
I haven't done eyes because I ended up backtracking. I had started eyes, but they were too bulgy, and I wanted to reshape his nose. So I ended up backtracking and went past his eyes. So I've got to redo his eyes, but I was pretty happy with him. He looked like something more than a blob, which is sometimes a challenge because my clay sculpting has not been going so well. Many of them look like misshapen blobs with eyes. Maybe they'd be good monsters, I suppose, but I wasn't going for a monster. So
very cool. I'm gonna have to play with that. Because gosh, I don't remember where this started on what show, but this concept came up around Snarkymon. The idea of creating a series of Pokemon based on the various folks that have been involved in all the different podcasts and things like that. So you can imagine what the Pokemon version of Mike Belinsky would look like.
Yes.
And a Dylan and the evolution phases and all that. And I thought it would really be fun to do. But as I've tried to do some of that stuff, so GIMP is because it's free, is what my Photoshop alternative that I'm trying to get better at and failing at significantly. I still go back to my Steam-powered version of PaintShop Pro because I still know how to use it better than anything else. But I'd like to. That might be worth a shot. Take a look and see if I can do some things there.
Yes, and I think that Udemy class, I might have the web address wrong, but I think it's makehuman.org. It's makehuman something. You can actually make a human mesh that you can import into Sculptris and then alter.
Oh.
So you could at least get started on the on a realistic head shape before you move into monsterifying it. But I actually, since I can't draw at all, and I really find this to be, I think because of the symmetry issue as well, I just find it way easier to try to get something that looks like something than my very lacking artistic skills, because I have no artistic skills. Kelly can draw though, so I don't know what his problem is.
I don't know. I got to work on it. It actually had to come off of Squat Cobra now I think about it, because it was Squattymon was the Squattymon was the new game that we were going to come up with. But that, as with many ideas, kind of has fallen by the wayside. But maybe someday. So that's cool. So you can fly a nano droid and then sculpt it.
You could mock up a drone that you would 3D print. I mean, and that's how actually I was looking on Shapeways, the online store where you can submit your 3D models, your OBJ files, to have them printed. And they actually have something on there that some company actually uses them to print the parts for their drones. And so it's totally doable. But that's kind of where I stumbled onto all of this, were people that were making figurines that they were having, instead of sculpting them in clay and then molding them and casting them in resin, they were 3D modeling them and having Shapeways print them. So it was pretty cool. So I thought I'd look at Sculptris. It's free. They were using ZBrush, but Sculptris can do it. It's just not as sophisticated, as ZBrush is going to be. But I think it's perfectly good to get started on something that's maybe a little less detailed, though. I've seen some pictures that people have done, characters they've made in Sculptris that were very detailed, but they're much better artists than I am. I'm going for generalized cartoon features. That's where I'm going to start.
Very cool. All right. Well, we'll move on to the social media recommendation and or recommendations. I don't know. I didn't mean to be presumptuous.
I have one, but I'm going to have to look it up.
Okay.
I was a little less than prepared today.
I will let you do that research, and I'll go ahead and kind of roll mine out.
Okay.
I mentioned we might hear about this gentleman a little bit later, so I'm going to recommend. So first of all, Alice has been able to right a great wrong and secure Alice at Alice Cooper on Twitter. He had been real Alice Cooper for a fairly large period of time, but now he's just plain old Alice Cooper on Twitter. And given his remarkable performance in Jesus Christ Superstar the other night, how can I not recommend the best King Herod ever at Alice Cooper? Did you get a chance to see that magic, Mel?
I recorded it, but I did catch his performance on YouTube, and it was very impressive. His suit was very good. He looked very good.
He looked good.
I was impressed.
And biggest cheer of the night when he, and it was, of course, it was cheating. It was kind of wheelhouse for Alice. It's like, hey, you need to be in a concert and come out and be a villain and be kind of arrogant and egotistical and compel the people to cheer for you. Do you think you can pull that off, Alice? That's a Tuesday night. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I thought, glad you recorded it. NBC has tried to do these live performance things multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty poor effect, in my opinion, so far. I thought this one, the performances were fantastic, and they kind of simplified some of it. I think doing it as a concert was a smart move, and so it was really, really well done, I thought. And the fact that the crowd loved Alice as much as I love Alice, made my day.
Yeah, on the video that I saw, as he was walking to the edge of the stage, there were all these guys crawling up on the stage, holding their hands out, and it was just like, this was just great for Alice. It was great, but I did see that pretty much everybody was like, this was the best one that they've done, and this one worked. Where the others, were mostly mocked. I didn't really see anybody mocking this one. They all enjoyed it, and I've watched a couple of the performances on YouTube, but I did record the whole thing because Kelly had the good sense to remind me last week that it was happening. So I remembered at the last minute, I was like, oh crap, I've got to go use this new hopper contraption that we have that can record 16 different channels or something, and go, hey, I'm going to record this thing. So, but yeah, it was good.
He was big. So at Alice Cooper, follow him, give him compliments for so many cool tweets about the performance. I think my favorite, there was one that was like, I didn't know that I needed Alice Cooper in my life playing King Herod, but I really do. It was a good one. And then somebody else, and I thought it was an astute observation, is like, actually, this is a little bit more Alice Cooper playing King Herod, who's playing Alice Cooper, which I thought was also, because it wasn't a stretch for Alice, in terms of it was wheelhouse, but it was still great, and it was neat to see the crowd reaction, and again, everybody. I haven't seen it much mocking. I mean, you're always going to get somebody you're going to pick on different things on it. There's a little bit of that out there, but by and large, the vast majority of feedback has been very positive, and I thought it was well done and very entertaining to watch.
Yeah. Well,
you get Alice.
I am one of those horrible people that can't help myself, but I read the comments on YouTube videos, and there were no bad comments that I saw on Alice's. So everybody I saw loved his performance, but I do agree with it. It did very much seem like Alice playing King Herod, playing Alice Cooper, because from my Alice knowledge that Kelly has managed to drill into my head over the years, it looked spot on as an Alice Cooper performance. So
it was fun. It was good.
Yeah.
So that's my recommendation for the week.
Cool. So I finally have. It is an Instagram recommendation, and it is an account called moon_, mixture. It's MXTR. So moon_MXTR. And what this account is some very cool artwork. And let me see. I've probably screwed up and pulled up one that doesn't have the attribution on it. It doesn't. These are some really cool little drawings that are very surreal, of these tiny little people in these fantastical outfits. But one of the cool things I like about this account is one of her friends is a writer and writes these stories that go along with the picture that she posts along with the picture. I think all of this is getting put into a book, and it's like poetry. It's so cool, and the poem just gives so much more depth to the picture. So it's one of those things that's very subjective. You just have to look at it and see if this kind of artwork really speaks to you. But it's really, really nice. It's not realistic artwork at all. It looks like, I'm not sure if she does it in watercolors, or if it's just pen and ink type stuff. But they're very neat, and they're very weird. I think I came across this account first from the other Instagram account that I think I've talked about before, Beautiful Bizarre Magazine. And they turned me on to a lot of different artists on Instagram that are posting just weird, cool stuff. And so this is one of them that I've really enjoyed. And the poems add so much to the picture, and the picture adds to the poems. And that's how art's supposed to work. So that's moon_MXTR on Instagram. And just take a look and see if you find it as cool and weird as I do, and give them a follow.
Awesome. So speaking of heads that look like a lumpy ball of clay, we're going to turn it over to Matt, who's going to give you all the information on how you can connect with us on YouTube and Stitcher and the blog and iTunes and all those fine things. And in his smooth baritone, he'll get all that information. And I have nothing else to add except thanks for listening.
Bye, everybody.
You can contact us on our website, nurtureandsupport.net, or email us at nurtandsupp@gmail.com. That's NURTANDSUPP@gmail.com. Or tweet us at nurtandsupp on Twitter.
Nurturing and supporting.